Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Christian Faith and Fiction. My name's Lou and today I'm going to be doing the second video in my most anticipated Christian fiction releases of 2020. I'll put a link in the description box to the first video in this series, which was when I was talking about the sequels that are coming out next year. This video will talk about the standalone books that are coming out and also the first books in a new series. If I'm honest, almost all of these books are coming from the first half of 2020 because I can't find very much about the books that are coming out in the later half of the year. But I'm planning to continue doing my new releases videos every couple of months, so I'll update you as the year goes on. Let me know in the comments which books you're most looking forward to reading next year. The first book I have for you is The Fifth Avenue Story Society by Rachel Hauck. This is a contemporary romance novel releasing on the 4th of February 2020. This book follows 5 New Yorkers who each receive an anonymous invitation to join the Fifth Avenue Story Society. No one has heard of it and no one knows why they've been invited. This is a story of friendship, love and healing. Rachel Hauck is a popular Christian fiction author. I believe I have an ebook copy of her well-known story, The Wedding Dress, but I haven't got around to reading it yet. This book sounds like it will contain a variety of different characters, but each coming together to form new friendships. Daughter of Rome by Tessa Afshar is a biblical fiction novel releasing on the 4th of February 2020. This book imagines the story of Priscilla and Aquila in the early church. It follows their romance and their life in the Roman Empire as they seek to build a community of believers and end up being banished from their home. These are 2 characters that appear in the footnotes of Paul's letters. I think it'll be really interesting to read a book from their perspective. Of course, this will blend together the elements of truth that we know about them with fiction, but I think it will still make a really good story. The Vault Between Spaces by Chawna Schroeder is a fantasy novel releasing on the 11th of February 2020. This story follows Oriel, who from the moment she enters the Hopewell prison camp plans to escape the inescapable. What begins as a prison break ends up as a mission to stop the invasion of evil. This sounds intriguing. I thought from the cover that it was going to be a sci-fi book, but I've read on Amazon that it's listed under fantasy, so I guess I'll have to wait and see. The Happy Camper by Melody Carlson is a contemporary romance novel releasing on the 3rd of March 2020. This story follows Dylan, who receives the unlikely gift of her grandfather's vintage run-down camp trailer. She decides to restore it with the help of the local hardware store owner, Jordan. That's when her non-committal ex turns up with roses and a ring. It looks like a good summer read, judging from the cover. It sounds like a fun contemporary with a possible love triangle, although I know not everyone likes to read those sort of books. The Socialite by Ciesielski, I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, so I'm sorry, is a historical novel releasing on the 14th of April 2020. The description says about this novel, glamour, treachery and espionage collides. That sounds like my kind of book. It follows Kat, who chases her wayward sister to Nazi-occupied Paris. There she meets Barrett, who is a bartender by day and by night trains resistance fighters. This sounds like it's going to have both some romance and intrigue. The cover looks very glamorous. I love the red dress against the skyline of Paris. The Joy of Falling by Lindsay Harrel is a contemporary romance novel releasing on the 14th of April 2020. 15 months after Eva and Angela lost their thrill-seeking husbands in a scuba diving accident, they find out that before they died, they had signed up to do an ultramarathon in New Zealand. The 2 women decide to run the race in their husbands' places. Alongside the grueling training, they meet Mark, one of the husband's best friends, and Simon, who is a writer following their progress. As they go on their journey, they wonder whether it's possible to move on into the future with hope. I read 2 of Lindsay Harrel's books this year. One of them, The Secrets of Paper and Ink, made it onto my top 10 books of the year. So I'm hopeful that I'm going to love this one as well. It sounds like it could be quite emotional, but also full of friendship and possibly romance. A Mosaic of Wings by Kimberly Duffy is a historical novel releasing on the 5th of May 2020. Determined to uphold her father's legacy, Nora Shipley joins a research expedition to India to prove herself in the field of entomology. Whilst there, Nora is faced with impossible choices between saving a young Indian girl and saving her career, and between what she's always thought she wanted and the man she's come to love. The setting sold me on this book. I've never read a book set in India before. I think it'll be really interesting to learn about a culture that is so different from my own. Of Literature and Lattes by Katherine Reay is a contemporary novel releasing on the 12th of May 2020. Alyssa returns home after her startup in Silicon Valley collapses. There she meets Jeremy, who has returned to Winsome to be near his daughter. He buys the town's coffee shop, but the business isn't doing well. He asks Alyssa for help, and their relationship grows, but at the same time complications arise. This one interests me mainly because of the author. I read Dear Mr. Knightley by Katherine Reay earlier this year, and I think a book set in a coffee shop ought to be right up my street, as I volunteer once a week in our church cafe. The cover is also beautiful and kind of quirky. And the last book I have for you is Set the Stars Alight by Amanda Dykes. This is a dual time period contemporary and historical novel releasing on the 30th of June 2020. Reeling from the loss of her parents, Lucy Claremont discovers an artefact under the floorboards of her home, leading her to an old seaside estate. Aided by her childhood friend Dashiell, a renowned forensic astronomer, they start to unravel a history of heartbreak, sacrifice and love begun 200 years ago, one that may offer the healing each seeks. I enjoyed Amanda's book Whose Waves These Are earlier this year. This book also seems to involve the sea or the coast, judging by the cover. It looks a bit like a pirate ship, and it reminds me a little bit of Frenchman's Creek by Duffy. Amanda Dykes' style of writing was quite distinctive, so I'll be interested to see whether that continues in this book. So those are all the books that I have for you today. No doubt I'll have more to add to that list as I go through next year. Which books are you most excited about? Let me know in the comments. And until next time, bye!